Ready. Hello, everybody. Sorry, I was just getting my drink. Didn't mean to be half on the screen.
Thing. All right.
Hello and welcome.
We came up with
Mhm.
spice today, didn't we? I feel a little spicy.
Yeah. Yes, we have. And I feel like we never do an intro. So welcome to our channel. Welcome to our podcast, our show, the Power of Energy series. That's what we like to call it. And yeah, we dive deep into all things. If you've never seen us before, please do check out our previous videos. We have lots and lots of wonderful, magical, spicy things in there. And yeah, we just really love to keep it real. If you know anything about me and Z, my name's Anya. This is Z, in case you didn't know. Here we are. And for anyone that's listening and not watching, I'm just clarifying that out because yeah, it's strange when you're just diving into someone's world. And I realize that because we have our little chat before, sometimes we just like dive straight in, which is great, I'm sure, for most people. But I thought we'd do a little hello and like who we are for any new listeners and anyone that might be joining on with us at this part in our ascension journey. You know, we do like to go all into the weird and wonderful worlds. We talk all about anything you could think of spiritual past lives, multidimensional selves, but we do focus a lot on the energy. And I
Mhm.
think that's because, because me and Z are such multidimensional light workers. You know, we do this day in, day out. We're clearing, working, doing healing, doing all sorts of multidimensional magic, as always. So for us, this podcast, for me, I can speak on only myself, it grounds me and it anchors me into like my weekly energy, what I've been experiencing, and it pulls me out of the astral realm a little bit more into my body and into like, okay, what do I need to integrate this week? What do I need to be reflecting on? What have I been processing? What's going on within me? And always when I talk to you, Z, I have like this, I just give her a dump. I'm like, here you go. This is what's been going on. What needs, and we do the same. And I love
Oh,
it. And yeah, it really just helps us kind of shift into that, you know, checking in on the energies of how it's feeling in our physical bodies and in our physical vessels. So this is why we do like any questions and anything like that, because it helps us anchor in that real life, authentic energy.
oh, absolutely. And I'm grateful that you just snapped that out there and be like, well, hey, we're gonna we're gonna do an opening today because we're generally jumping right into it. I appreciate that. It's really funny when we do stuff like this and there's like nobody else in the world, even as we're talking on this. We're in our own little world. And this brings it down into a grounding phase, just like you said. And also it's good to note too that we're all in our own little worlds here.
Right?
So
Like we literally live in his own little bubble.
I'm not expecting y'all to know the content or assume or anything like that. And this is a deep dive and a jump in. So as always too, like this is our perspective and our authenticity coming through this. And we're always asking y'all to please do what feels best to you and own your own perspective.
Yeah, always, always. It's that the authenticity piece is just what I wanted to anchor in there because, you know, I guess I wanted to touch a little bit on like when I first started into spirituality, I was 17, so I was really young. And I've been reflecting a lot lately. Obviously, I've been a mum in the past few years, and I've definitely my frontal lobe has deeply developed into full on adulthood now. I'm getting there. And I've been looking back at my journey of like when I started spirituality, and I guess I was still a child, you know, I was a teenager, 17. And luckily in some ways, but also strangely in other ways, like I didn't get to live a normal life really. Like I did in my teenage years for them few years, but I never really went into like full on mainstream 3D life. And I don't mean that disrespectfully. You know, I had a lot of jobs. I had like 15 jobs before being 18. I'd worked in all different things and explored things. But yeah, I didn't really go into that life. I left uni and became a spiritualist, became a tarot card reader. And so, yeah, I think I was reflecting on when I first went into this journey, I used to look for podcasts and research things. You know, again, I was in uni, so I was all about researching at that time and trying to learn and discover what was going on with me, what was going on in life, you know, philosophical answers that I just was not getting from textbooks. And when I really sat with it, there was nothing online. There was no podcast. There was no, you know, maybe one or two. Again, we've mentioned this before, Dolores Cannon, Abraham Hicks, the
Yep.
pioneers of the craft course. You had them. But other than that, it was not mainstream like at all. There was no TikTok like that. There was, and I don't think TikTok existed. They would definitely did not exist. You know, there was not any of this connective hive that we have now. And I'm saying this is a good thing that we have this now because I remember searching for 5D Ascension because I'd downloaded this information. We've been talking about it with a few of my spiritual people. And just what came up was like, I remember something about carpet fittings and just like nothing to do with anything that I was getting. And I just felt like, oh, and then now you search it pages and pages and pages and pages and pages. And that's in 10 years. And so that's kind of why I wanted to touch on authenticity, because as much as it is a magical, beautiful thing that we now have this hide, and that's why the internet is a gift in many ways, because we've been able to create this consciousness online and connecting when we've been in the dark, when we felt alone. We've had each other, and there is so many people doing this now, which I am so grateful for. And there's a lot of different frequencies, a lot of different perspectives, a lot of different angles being looked at, different timelines being observed, all sorts of things going on. And that's not to say anyone's right and wrong. They're just coming from their frequency, their perspective. And when me and Z tune in, it's always just as real as we can be. Some people might love that. Some people might not like that. It might trigger some people. That's cool. You do what you got to do, and you take what you can from this, what resonates with you, and you leave what does not. And yeah, just remember that each week we tune in, we are usually processing real time. So we are also experiencing this with you guys. And I always like to really make that loud and clear. I am not above you. I am not better than you. I am not more evolved as like this magical being. I am a magical being, but so are you. And the only difference, I think, is sometimes people have lived longer as a soul. And so they have more information, more wisdom, more experiences that they have gained in their lifetimes that they hold in their soul's frequency than maybe a different soul does. And that's, we can see that. You can observe that in life. That's not without fact. But again, that doesn't give hierarchy to people to belittle people or judge them or treat them less than because they are a more wisdomous. If anything, you should be more humble, should be more kind, and you should be more grounded into your knowledge and into spreading that knowledge and helping others ascend at their own pace and level too. So yeah, that's just going on for this little introductory spiel. That's what we do. We keep it real with you. We're processing it real time. We're going through it with you. We're right there, strapped in the roller coaster, going through it. And that's why sometimes we're here, there, and everywhere when we're talking on a sessions, because we are literally here, there, and everywhere processing it with you. We're not doing this years after we've dealt with it. We're doing it with you. We're right there in the seat with you. So thanks for being patient with us and for tuning in and, for connecting in with us and spreading your love with us, because we really do appreciate it and we see it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for what you said.
I don't know where it came from, but this came to me, didn't it? There's a little bit true channeling in process,
Yeah, that's part. I like you. I started this really young, but I was in my little kiddo phase when I was really deep into, if you want to call it a spiritual aspect. To me, it was my real reality where I was extremely in the energetic space, seeing beings, working with cards actually, from friends and family.
That's so cool that you was working with cards from being a child. I love that. That's awesome.
Like it was fun. It was a good time. My reality was definitely not 3D. It never was. And it hasn't ever
Yeah.
been to this point. It's just like I view it in such a different way because of that. And again, like you, it doesn't mean that I'm any different, more evolved. That's the perception that I've gotten before, and I've had to knock it right off. I'm
Oh
like,
yeah, I've been there for a quick minute.
I'm always like, for one thing, it's not been an easy path. I've not had an easy path with all of that interacting with my reality. And also, too, I always say to everybody who comes in to see me, or if I'm working with somebody and they're talking about wisdom or something like that, I always say, like, there's no real um, hierarchy in the space other than souls who have more experience. And I always say, you've been an experienced soul. That doesn't mean that
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
you've been around the block a few times, you come down a few times. Um, and in fact, that type of knowledge too, at least where I see where we're at now, it's a very present, intuitive. This is what I'm going to say here, and this is where I'm going to hold back here because it's an understanding that everybody has equal opportunity to grow and ascend, if you want to use that word, into their
yeah.
what they're looking for.
Yeah, everyone does. And expect, I mean, obviously, you could go into the multiple layers of then you've got the concept of NPCs, non-player characters, and, the walkouts, and I forgot the word for soul swaps, probably
That
soul swap. Yeah. There's all sorts of different terminologies and things, but you get my drift. There's many layers to it. But I guess if we're looking at, say, anyone that's watching this video, anyone that's watching this video is consciously awake and consciously connected and ascending because you're watching this video. I remember meeting a lovely lad that we kind of took into his family years ago. He was quite young at the time, about 17. He's at 22 now, so we've known him a while, but I remember sat with him and he was so confused as to why he'd had the life and why where he was and, all these journeys and questioning himself. And I remember looking at him thinking, saying to him, you would not be having this conversation right now with me at all if you weren't here for something, here to be someone, here to do something. If you were just meant to blend into the background, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now. And that's exactly, I think, sometimes the reflection we need to be given, that maybe we're not where we want to be. Maybe we're not at the level which we'd love to be at. Maybe we're not and having this most successful career. Maybe we're not living this spiritual light worker embodiment in all aspects of life. Maybe we're still doing a 9 to 5. Maybe we're still in a relationship we're working through. I don't know. There's many layers that we're going through. I can tell you that I'm still stuck in many layers, and it creates this imposter syndrome and this feeling of like, well, can I hold space? Am I good enough? Am I able to be seen? Am I a failure? That's the big one that brings in me.
Yep.
And I'm sure we've all sat with these concepts before, and you have these times of empowerment where you're like, yeah, I'm a boss bitch. And I have them too. And then I have times where I'm like, what is my life? What am I doing? Where am I at? And this is I guess, the kaleidoscope of human experience. But I'm really working through this energy that's been coming up in the collective right now. And I just want to pull it back before I dive straight into me and Z work a lot on the feminine, masculine energy. And as I've said many times in this video before, if you're watching this and it's the first time, when we refer to masculine and feminine energy, a lot of that is energy. So that doesn't have to be male and female bodies. This can be related to if you identify more masculine in your frequency and you're a woman, vice versa. You get my gist. We work with frequency and energy, so we apply it to human in the best way we can, but obviously it's not specific to each and individual situation. So please take the terminology that resonates with you and the frequency, because we're just working with the energy right now, and that's what we're kind of sitting with. And also to mention, we all have masculine and feminine energies. It's just usually one is more predominant in the frequency, not always as well, but just sometimes, most times, there is a more predominant frequency. But then you can also have a more predominant frequency and more predominant traits that are on other sides. So, we could get into this all day. We're not going to, but we could. So yeah, you've got the energies going on there, masculine and feminine. And me and Z work a lot with the divine feminine, the rising of the divine feminine. We do a lot of energy work with that. We hold space individually, and we do work on retreats together where we work with embodying the divine feminine and activating your wild woman within. So yeah, we do a lot of that, and we love it. But definitely at the moment, there's this masculine frequency is like calling to be heard, and I struggle with translating it. I'm not going to lie. I am a very feminine soul. I have many lifetimes feminine, and I identify very much with this creation fire, this embodiment of movement and flow and divinity. I'm on my feminine flow, but I have very much masculine traits for protection and safety, and I'm yin yang with both. But this masculine energy, I struggle to unpick it sometimes. I struggle to understand. I don't understand it at all. And it throws me way off my kilter because it's overwhelming, it's overbearing. It's like, well, man, I don't know what to do with it. It feels a lot in my nervous system. And that even sometimes from within me. I'm not saying that's always from other experiences of masculine energy. Sometimes that's just within myself. I don't like it when it comes up. It doesn't feel nice. It doesn't feel comfortable. It doesn't feel even like I understand how to deal with it like I do when I'm working through the feminine rage or the reclamation of the body or I can work with that. I know how to deal with that. I don't know what I'm doing over here. So I guess I wanted to bring that up a little bit because it's unfamiliar for me working at this level of internal healing with the masculine energy in myself. and being able to translate it and understand it. I look for outside answers a lot when this energy comes up because I just don't resonate with it. So I'd love to hear your perspective on that.
Yeah, this has been a very curious few weeks, I would say, with this energy pulling forward. And I, in my own physical body, I have both. Both are very, I identify by both. They're both very much so perceived in my system. And I want to say that my feminine has been up and uncomfortable with this because it's like holding space for me, like for a dead weight. That's what it feels like.
Oh, I love that.
I'm like,
Visual. Yeah, I hear that. I hear that.
So, as I've been unraveling and unpicking it myself, now this hit me very collectively for a good period of time. I'm always like, okay, what is my internal peace with this? Why is this mine? Why am I taking why is this coming up for me? And then I then took a really big hit, went up to the mountains, and all of my clients coming in had the same type of inflection coming on.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, this is very collective. So,
Interesting.
it's very interesting indeed. The feeling of defeat was huge.
Hmm.
Failure. Okay. Like nothing that you can imagine could possibly go right. I've had that like a few times. You've been doing all the right things, all the action steps, and it just to me feels like a very dead log. And so I've sat with it this last weekend, um, and it was holding enough space for it to be able to express itself. Uh,
Mm.
when it did, it was completely in the body. Because for a while, I was like, my body's like, I think I'm having a heart attack, actually. Like, my whole like left side.
Oh.
I was like, okay. So within the system, I had to forget everything that I ever possibly could have learned about the masculine. I had to like drop down to a 0 point. Um,
Interesting.
and allow it to open up a little bit. And how it moved through the body was entirely different. It wasn't really feminine. It was really mechanical, actually. And
Right, and I'm not used to that.
yeah,
Hmm.
very mechanical. So I gave it its presence and I asked, exactly what it needed. And it just said, I have to express in a completely different way. And that's not co-aligned with my feminine, who's very flowy, right? And so I still don't have the answer, just so we all know. I'm still working this.
Yeah, yeah, we're just clarifying out. We're still working with this one. We ain't there yet. We're just figuring it out. So don't be expecting us to tell you an answer. We're just rolling with it. Just a FYI.
Their experience. I let it express itself and let it do its thing, but it didn't want to be touched, like it didn't want to be too close to my partner, so that had to be like a whole nother situation. And then
Hmm.
when it did come out, it was different frequency tones, movements than I had ever experienced in my body. Like it was hitting my nervous system in a way that was like, wow, I don't really know what's happening, so I'm just gonna surrender to it.
Okay, thank you for that as well, because that was really vulnerable and insightful share as well as to what you've been processing this weekend. And again, guys, this is this weekend. We're all going through this. We're not, this is not last year. This is right now because collective energy works like that. If we're going through it, usually it's all of us at similar times moving through that frequency so that that pattern of code, that thing that's running down the whole of all of our conscious mind, body, soul, spirit, nervous systems can be released at a similar time. We can all hold space for each other too. So again, thank you for that because it was really vulnerable. And I am there too. I'm in that place of feeling failure, feeling a bit stuck, I feel a bit boxed in. I
Yeah.
feel a bit like, and not in my physical environment necessarily as much. It's more, I feel like I'm not doing myself justice enough. I feel a little bit restricted would be the right word, and defeated, as we said earlier. So that was a big one. Yeah, it just feels like no matter how many steps forward I take, there's always a few steps backwards. And that pattern, that cycle is definitely one I'm sitting with right now and breaking. Again, don't have the answers, just like we were saying, but I'm trying to identify it because, as I've mentioned before, I've learned this new thing of identifying the root, the conscious and subconscious root, and working on removing that. But this is so multi-layered. I feel like I'm having to look at 10 different roots for the same wound that are contributing to this bigger wound. And then it's also a collective thing. And people around me are experiencing it, which I'm not going to lie, I'm finding difficult. And I don't really know how to navigate that. I'm a space holder as you are, Z, and held space my whole life, literally since being a child. And I'm struggling because I've done so much work lately on my nervous system, on boundaries, on tone, like you say, touch, energy, space, you know, this is my vibe. And it's made a big difference to me not living in pure burnout and manic fight or flight mode majority of my life. And so that's shifting. And obviously, I do not want to return to that. But what I'm feeling lately is this like, I know that what we experience sometimes we're gaining reflections from others, and I'm aware of that, and we can kind of zoom out from that. But lately, I'm feeling like it's a bit of a past reflection. So I've worked through, again, I'm still working through this other stuff, but I've worked through a lot of this like anger for the world, anger for the way that we're living, anger for what's been going on, division, hatred. Like I've been there, mainly 2020. I lived there for the whole year, like I get it. I hear it. I was there, but I'm not now. And, that was 6 years ago. And that's a long time for me personally. It's a long, long, long time. And I do not resonate with that frequency at all anymore. It feels very battle like and very conflictual. Feels murky. And I don't want to be in it, and I'm struggling to hold space for that shift and transition that's going on with the masculine energy, those that are more predominant in that masculine energy shifting up into their rising right now. I see it, I see a lot of men going through their dark nights of the soul, their rebirths, their dawn, their enlightenment phases of change and growth, and like, well, where's my path? Where's my purpose? Where am I heading to? I see that right now. But what I'm also experiencing is the kind of after effect of that frequency. And I'm struggling to live with that, physically live with that, and live with that in a collective energy ways as well, and live with that with those around me. And I guess I don't really have any advice on it other than I'm actually struggling a little bit, but because you can't just remove yourself from everything in life. And that's where I get a bit like, well, great, don't be around it. Okay. Well, you can't not be around life, like life is life. And this is the thing, like when you have life to live and 2 children and life, you can't just not live it. And that's where I feel like I'm at a little bit. It's using our techniques and tools of regulation, remembering our own internal frequencies, not what we're experiencing around us, and finding things maybe to ground. I started wild swimming again, which is really nice. It's very cold, freezing cold. It's very nice, just little reconnecting points, I guess. That's what I'm doing. Kind of working a little bit, but I'm still feeling a bit overwhelmed by it. So I guess as we go through it more and as more unravels and unlayers, I'm sure we'll learn new techniques and new ways to balance out that frequency a little bit so that we're not feeling overpowered by this release that's happening from the masculine energy, because it is a lot.
Yeah, I mean it's a definite giant piece. And I think turning back into what you said, like finding anchor points. For me, it was just finding anchor points. Now I would say this last weekend, they were all different. So my form of expression and anchoring like was not there. And that's what gets challenging because you're like, great,
Right.
point one. Here we go.
Right. Literally. That's me most days, don't worry about it.
That's where my body gets really feisty and really like frustrated. And then it goes back to like, oh, look, I'm still in this reality. Humans are weird. Look at that.
Mm-hmm.
But I just danced with it long enough to find one correlating point that would help me ground myself. One was just a song, which is one I haven't actually heard. That was one just popped up. And I was like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
that was in my now creation. That's what I'm going to pull in. One moment with my partner where I'm like, we just have a moment of sitting, and that was like a grounding point. But I had to like really go because the ones that I knew before were not there. So
Right.
going back to a
Right.
canvas.
Yeah, and I hear that. I hear that. And like you say, sometimes you can't just do it in that moment. You can't just go, I can't just jump into a lake in the moment of dysregulation, like that's a planned thing, a preemptive thing to know for a release later on, but it's not a regulatory thing in the moment. And Yeah, music has been a big one for me as well. Headphones. I've been a headphone gal this week.
Yeah.
I've been an isolating headphones gal. They've helped a lot, a lot. Just tuning out the frequency with one frequency, and also isolation. I guess that now we're reflecting. That's a big one for me. Like, I don't isolate. I'm a people person. I recharge with people, with my people. That's how my energy. Like, I don't like being alone. I don't mind it. I'm not afraid of it. I'm sit there and enjoy my little painting times, and it's just not my most enjoyment. Like, if I were to tell you what I enjoy the most, it would not be sat on my own. Do you know what I'm saying? So there's different things. I don't mind. Like I said, I enjoy certain things in my own space, but yeah, lately, this past week or two, I have really had to isolate. Like, my body just wanted to be alone in a space that felt like mine. And there was no, do you know what? It was having the safety to not have interruptions in my nervous system. Like, I think it just needed a break to
Yep.
know that there is no disruptions. I don't need to co-regulate with anyone. I don't need to manage their emotions or think about what the response would be on, like that conscious overthought that sometimes when someone or people are navigating through their own rebirths and dark nights, you don't want to add in your extra stuff that you're going through in terms of unintentionally projecting. So I felt like the best situation for me in a lot of the spaces this week was to isolate away. And again, not a go-to for me. So this is new. So yeah, I'm definitely feeling the
That's
change, like you say, different. Yeah, different. That was very different for me. And I felt really bad for it at first. I felt like I was doing something wrong because it's so not my norm, and I felt like until it just became a normal thing and no one responded to it around me. And I realized this is what normal people do, but I just have not been doing this. Yeah, it has helped. And I think I'm working through some layers that have allowed me to feel safe in doing that and communicating that, which is a big thing. I could have done this for years, but the fear of conflict, fear of, I don't know, my abandonment wounds of sitting in my own space alone, almost as if it was a punishment. Like, I feel like all this stuff was coming up, and I needed to sit with a lot of that before I could just comfortably do it.
Yeah, I mean it's a huge one. I think that's
Mm.
what I had to wrap around too because I'm an isolator because I need quite a bit of space to decompress. Because my constant world is it's kind of like a DMT trip, not that I'm taking.
Yeah, I hear that.
That's how I'm experiencing everything. Every plant, every is a sound to me. It's a taste, it's a texture, a tiny little vibration, somebody stepping on the floor. So if I'm around a lot of people, that's a very immersive experience for me, and that my body can get overwhelmed very quickly. So I've had to like it's not been isolation. That's like I've shifted out of that, but into like I can handle this for maybe this amount of time, and then like I'm gonna have to tell everybody that I'm not taking it anymore, and I need to go do my own thing, right?
Yeah, I like that. Like, yeah, I like that. Like a not changing conditions, but you know what I mean, like a boundary kind of thing with yourself, and
Yeah.
also it's kind of showing your inner self that I've got you. Let's ride it out for this time, so we're not being irrational or avoiding. But if it gets to this level, we're out, and it's that protection and that.
Totally.
Yeah, I hear that. I've had to use that this week too. That like boundary of I don't know. It's like that boundary of balance of not being too avoidant to avoid any conflict whatsoever, but also not being conflictual. I feel like I've been dancing that and just articulating things really calmly,
Yeah.
really clearly on what I mean and how I mean it instead of dancing around the subject.
Yeah, yeah,
Mm.
totally. It's a lot of nervous system differentiation there and going, okay,
Mm,
it's gonna create me to avoid something or not face something. If the answer is no, and you just actually need space because this is not just overwhelming at this point, like it gets painful, for me, if I'm around,
yeah, I hear that.
as
I
I'm
hear that.
then my nervous system will go, okay, no, I just need a little bit of either recalibration. I need to take myself aside, or no, I do need to face this. But here is my boundary with that if I face it. Okay. And also just like I'm not obligated to text someone back right away. I'm not obligated to, da 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 where my nervous system would have like caught on to those and be like, oh no, I have to do this in order to get da 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 da. That is shifting itself to where it's like,
Yeah,
okay, first and foremost, am I safe in my nervous system? Do I feel protected right here? And if I do not, message this person back? Like, not that I have to, or am I avoiding? Am I not, whatever the piece is to that. And I check that. And if this is like, this is not a frequency that I want to deal with, nor like care to deal with, then I'm not going to do it. I'm going to give my body full permission to do what it needs to do, not just to make itself stay safe, but
Mm,
stay in creation, right? To stay in something
yeah.
that I can continue to vibe with. Because otherwise I'll shut down. I'll be like, forget this world.
Literally, literally, and I hear that so much this week because that energy that's been coming in, it's a really strange one, and it keeps bringing me back to 2020, then 2021, and I guess that for me is because that was my real like dark night of the soul. Like I'd been through many little layers, but yeah, really, really hit that point of what is the point?
Yep.
What's the point? Why are we here? What's the purpose? What? Like it was literally, I didn't understand, and I just felt so alone. And that's when I found the mass connective gatherings in London. I don't want to say a certain word that might trigger on the thing. Yeah. And wow, again, I've mentioned it before, it changed my life because I realized I'm not on my own. And there is so many people who also connect with this. But, that frequency keeps coming back up of how I felt then and how people might be feeling now. And I guess it makes sense because there is so much truth coming out about the peeps, about the people running the show that were running the show, about them, and all the things they were doing behind the scenes. Which again, it's not a shock for us. We've been doing this a long time now. So when you know this stuff, I know it sounds awful, but you do desensitize to it in the same way you would if you were a police officer and you were seeing them things every day. You desensitize from it because you're so exposed to it. It's not shockingly new. So you find it awful, but you're not shocked,
Right.
and that's the difference. We're not shocked in that way. And I see a lot of this frequency of shock and confusion and lost my words, loss of hope is a big one, not feeling like there's any hope in the world or feeling doomed, feeling like everything's ending, and I guess I could see why they're going there in their minds, but it's really important to anchor in the purpose, why they're going through this and remembrance of your journey when you went through this and why and what you felt like and what shifted that and how you got to a place of understanding we are here to create change. A song came on my music today. Ironically, I've had the same YouTube for years and years and years. I've not heard this song for years, but it came on today as I was thinking about this stuff because that's how the universe works, is it not? And it's I can't remember, can't remember the song's name. It's called "A Hope for a Generation." I don't know who it's by. Can't remember, but it's really good. It's like "Hope for a Generation," and the lines are "Hope for a generation just beyond my reach, not beyond my sight." And it's got like a band, and I used to listen to it at that time when I was walking the dog on my own in the fields, looking up at the sky. And I just remember listening to that song thinking there's got to be a reason. And I love that line, hope for a generation just beyond my reach, but not beyond my sight. Like, it's coming. It's coming. Look at the change from when we started this. It is coming and we are progressing and we individually are growing and expanding. We collectively are growing and expanding. We are ascending. It's happening. It's just whack. you know,
Circle that.
let's be real.
Let's whack. Let's just get real with that. Well, I mean, like overall, we can see ourselves like moving in those spaces, like we're growing, things are shifting. In the in between space where like it feels dark or you're like, I don't even know what's going on. It can be really hard, at least for a minor system sometimes, to be like, yeah, what are we?
So
That's
what's
cool.
happening?
That's it. We're doing it again. Like, great. And so it takes its time to, I think, find that purpose point again. And that sometimes feels like it's the only point where you like deconstruct and you pull out all these
Yeah.
layers that there's like nothing there. Then you got to take a pause and be like, okay, what is the meaning to this? And then you got to put it back in there and find the purpose.
Mhm.
Like, oh, I'm okay. And then it happens again because that's also how the universe works and energy works.
literally, because every pain has purpose, whether it's for you, whether it's for someone else, whether it's reflectionary, whether it's for the person that created the pain. Who knows? But it has purpose, and unfortunately, our soul signed us up for this. So it wasn't an involuntary thing. We signed up for this purposeful pain. But it's painful, still painful, but it has purpose. And that's what you have to have in your mind. That was like a tongue twister. I really did well there. I dare anyone to repeat that and get that right. That was so good. That was like Sally sells seashells down the seashore. That was really good. Anyways, moving on. Yes, the purpose is there. And I feel like if you can learn to zoom out a little bit. Even now I'm struggling. I'm like, oh my God, why? What? Why are we still here? What's going on? Da, 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 da. And there has to be purpose. And literally, I said it to my friend Claire. She'd just gone traveling on her own for a few days, testing herself out of her comfort zone. And last night she was sat there. I was like, there's got to be a reason you're there. There has to be, because she's having that adjustment period. And she was like, I just want to know why. And I said, what do you say to me every time I say that? You go, you just got to trust. And I was like, so I'm reflecting it right back to you. You just have to trust. And but it's true, because she tells me the exact same thing. I am the queen of why. Why? I'm like them birds off Nemo. Like, I'm genuinely just want to know why everything happens, everything. And I've learned that sometimes you're not going to get the why. And if you are, you probably maybe shouldn't push that hard, because you weren't meant to know. And that's the point. Like, it's trusting, it's flowing, it's back off a bit, let yourself just flow. And even though this energy is very mechanical and very different, boxed in for me, it's very, very restrictive. It's adapting to our new frequency, and we're all learning. We're not there yet. No one's there yet. And if they say they are, they're probably not. No offense, but they're just not. So we're all on this ascension journey together. That's the point. As a human race, as a collective race. Again, there might be more experienced souls, but no one's fully ascended, because you won't be in the same timeline. Choosing. So just remember that. Yeah, keep humble. Don't let anyone else gas your head up thinking that you're not as powerful and amazing and perfect as you are, even if you're not where you want to be. That's okay. And that's a message to me too.
And
it's okay.
There's plenty of like, wow, I wish that would have gone differently, or da 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 da. I'm not exactly there, and that's also just a part of the human experience, and that's for me just being like, first, well, I'm not. I'm gonna accept it. If I have emotional turbulence in there, I deal with that, and then I try to look at the absurdity of it all, because really, you look at the human experience, and you're like,
what is this? Why did we all sign up for this again? Unreal.
Okay.
And then there's the magic of it, and then I'm like, oh, because you dance in the rain, watching the sunset, listen to music that just moved you in a way that you'd listen to the same music again and not get moved like that. Life is truly, absolutely, magically, wonderfully beautiful in all ways too. But wow, it's painful and it's tiring and it's exhausting and it's lonely. And it's so hard trying to be this soul that knows what's going on but can't explain it in this human vessel. Because, I struggle. I know what's going on up here, but then to get it out.
Yeah, it's a whole different story.
That's not work. Computer error. Yeah. So that's the thing.
Yeah, that just doesn't work. That just doesn't always come through there. Just gotta hold that one in the eye.
Literally. But just like life, this conversation has been a wild ride here, there, and everywhere, as always. But I feel like the whole essence and point was simply to realize that if you are feeling this little bit of like, maybe I'm not where I want to be, maybe I'm a bit stuck, maybe I'm a failure, blah, blah, blah. It's not necessarily, it's not true. Not necessarily, it's not true. And you need to be doing a little bit of work in there on, well, I'm going to tell you to find the whys a little bit. But yeah, finding the roots, re-evaluating why they're there, where they come from, and also trusting that in the overall, it is a collective energy thing. And so you can't always unpick everything, but it's reflecting, if you're feeling it, there's things in you that are being reflected up by this energy for a reason. There's things that are running within your conscious and subconscious mind that maybe could be looked at and reevaluated as we move through this energy, because it's come up. And so, yeah, I think that is important. And, Z does a lot of fantastic work on the nervous system. I do some one-to-one sessions on reprogramming, reworking the body. And I have got a workshop day coming up, which is in June, the 28th of June in North Yorkshire in Settle. It really is going to be quite powerful because we're going to be doing this work. We're going to be harnessing all them roots and we're going to be teaching you how to reprogram them from the inside out. So yeah, it is going to be quite phenomenal. I am excited to be doing it. And I do want you guys to be a part of it because I want you to be able to be doing this work. I want you to be able to do it on yourself, on other people, spread the magic. And unfortunately, it is a human life. So we do still have to charge finances, but there is people that do very similar work for, a lot more than I charge. I try and keep it as affordable and as cost price as possible because I do want to make it for most people. I've been in a situation most of my life where I couldn't afford to spend hundreds of thousands of pounds like people charge, $2,000 for a workshop day or whatever's going on. Yeah, I couldn't afford them things, them investments in self. And I'm not saying it's wrong. It's fantastic, but I wasn't at that place of accessibility for that. So I always try and keep it as affordable and accessible as I physically, financially can so it runs. So yeah, the places are limited because we do want to keep it quite intimate so that we get that transformative one-to-one experience. So do get your tickets on spiritualsoulcenter.com and the link will be in the description of the video. And like I said, Z does some phenomenal nervous system work. So, I'm sure you're going to.
Uh, and also, like, I'm excited for you to do yours in real time because it's just going to really allow people to be able to do it themselves. And that's also what we're here about. And so is the game changers. So, everybody,
Exactly.
and also, too, like, for everybody who is in this space and feeling all of this, it's okay to feel all the things. We're feeling a lot right now. All the good, the beautiful, the ugly, the unknown. All of that is what we're trying to, like, in our nervous system's whole capacity for. And it's okay to be exactly where you're at and feel all of it.
Exactly.
So, just want
Yeah.
to set up with that.
Perfect. And I love that, Z. That was bang on. Because I am a bit of a fixer sometimes to try and fix it. And it's not that I try to move through it. But sometimes you just gotta sit with it. You really truly have to just sit with it until it naturally moves through it or guides you in the way that you need to move through it. And I have been doing that this week. So that is important to just notice what comes up, notice it, write it down, take a note of it, but also just allow it to move through you in its own time, place, and way that it needs to.
Yeah, sometimes you just don't need to know. And that's
Yeah.
comfortable, I'd say. I've had some uncomfortability and I'm just like, okay, I'm going to sit with this because I don't have clarity on it yet. And if I don't have clarity on it, I'm not going to move on it. So,
Literally. Yeah, exactly that. Exactly that. Perfect.
all right, we love you guys so much. Thank you for watching.
Thank you.
All right, we'll see you next time.